Okay, I'm starting the recording. Oh, camera's off. And now we are recording. So I thought I'd do a quick overview of the year 2016. 2016 yearbook and review. It's always interesting looking back at these things because you see how quickly the year goes when you put it all in one place. You don't have day by day and it's just week by week, and you can look at the whole year in your hands. Boring stuff, boring stuff, boring stuff. I like to use my notebooks as sketchbooks, filling them out with notes and ideas and additions and things. Becomes quite a good chronological comparison of what's happening in my thought processes over the year. So as you can see, in February 15th I started designing little cabins and things, designing doorways and roofs, figuring out prices for timber for projects that I didn't really think I was going to be doing, drawing lots of penises. Sometimes when usually you can see which week I've been looking at magazines. This is a book from a house from a magazine that I saw that I've just copied down so that I could maybe use some elements in it later on, and still working on cabin ideas. So this is March. I was in Denmark, and I've just come back to New Zealand. I'm in New Zealand now, and I was hanging out with good friends, and we were talking about living in the bush. And so I started thinking about these little 10 square meter cabins, and building little things on the sides of them, clad in interesting things. Working with overlapping spaces or working with doors all the way around. I'm going to call this one Workshop of Doors, which is a very original name. And trying to figure out how we could use the cheapest materials to make something strong. So stiffening joints with plywood plates, putting beds up top, and I think this is meant to be like a translucent material wrapped all around, so you'd be upstairs in a very light, open environment. It's the day of my brother's 21st. Which was a very poignant, long day. We went out to the poor nights. We went spearfishing. Well, we didn't go spearfishing, it's a marine reserve. We went snorkeling and took photos. Camera fishing. Yeah, it was a good day. I guess some days don't make the cut, and I rip them out and hand them to other people. And this is when I was starting to plan a trip around the South Island, so I've marked on dates of things that I wanted to do, and then I realised pretty soon in the year that I could write what I wanted to do and what I actually did do and kind of compare them. So here I'm in Nelson, and I did Nelson, so that's good, but then as we go to next week I think it changes. Yeah, so St Arnaud, Mount Roberts, not the same place. And then I thought I was going to be walking through St James, but I went out early. I didn't go in as far as I thought I would because I think I got a little bit lonely out in the bush. This is, how many weeks after that? That's a month after my brother's birthday. And then I went down to Christchurch to see some friends, down to Arthur's Pass. And then this is the day that I visited my brother's site on the side of the road. This is the day that I went to Kaikoura and almost had a big car crash. I just find it interesting looking at all the different plans and things throughout the year and how they've changed, planning different days. I think this is towards the end of my trip. I spent 3 months at the start of the year in New Zealand. And this is just after I graduated. So yeah, this is the last week, my mum's birthday, trying to fit in lots of people, and then yeah. And at the time that seemed like a really good idea. I think as we go through the year it will become apparent why that wasn't such a good idea. But I came back to Denmark and I had a job lined up in Stockholm, so I wasn't really doing much in Denmark, which was great at the time because I could do little things like this, like design a stand for my camera to rest on so I could take photographs of negatives. And I'd written that I wanted to send postcards. I was going to paint postcards for my cousin Mel, and make woodcuts and all sorts of little things like that. Me and my friend Grant, we were helping out building at the Northside Festival in Aarhus, which was a nice little distraction. And I made some picture frames, and I've got all the different sizes here. Picture frames for different pictures. I made them out of oak in the end. Then little, I always have these, I like going back through these because there's always little ideas that I forget that I've written down. So the stadium concept, which I think, what was that? Oh yeah, that was a stadium on the waterfront in Auckland that I heard that they might build, and I thought, actually, yeah, fuck yeah, I should do that. That should be me. Never did it, of course. You just write it down. But maybe one day you'll come back to these things, and yeah, and then starting to plan for Stockholm. All these bureaucratic things you've got to do to go to mid country. Yeah, lots of planning, lots of ideas, lots of to-do lists. And at the time, they probably seemed really important. Booking flights, paying rent, going to graduation, planning how much it's going to cost me a week to live in Stockholm. And I thought 17,000 krona, which seems like a lot of money right now. Yeah, finding banks. And I guess here we can start to see that maybe I didn't want to be in Denmark, because here I'm planning a cabin for Mangafai, which is not the country that I'm in. Packing up our apartment in Aarhus so that we could go on holiday and then come back and go to Stockholm. Cancelling things, closing up the Danish part of my life, flying to Greece on Saturday. Being in Greece, not writing much, I guess, that's probably a good thing, just hanging out, enjoying time. Going to Norway, planning the trip to Norway through Göteborg. Driving around, we spent Grant's birthday we had in Oslo, that was really nice. Lots of friends and drinks and food and things like that. More plans, more drawings. Actually, I did that one. Finn Yule is an amazing Danish architect and designer. Does these amazing watercolor interior elevations, and I wanted to copy them, so I've been trying to teach myself how to do that. Oh, beer recipe. This is probably my favourite one. This is the amber ale I like to make. A kilogram of amber malt as the base, which is always a good thing. Keep it red. And then a bit of chocolate just to give it a bit of colour. Not too much. I've got 100 grams in here. Someone thought that might have been too much, but I think it's quite nice when it's dark red, not pale red. And then it says 76 degrees for sparge, which is a bit of a euphemism because I don't really sparge because it's a pain in the ass. I don't have the equipment for it. And then, oh yeah, so here we've got different restaurants, Urban Deli and things like that around Stockholm where we were living. And I wrote down these places, but where we went that first week, because it was all very exciting, trying to remember different markets, different parks we went to, the first day of work in Stockholm, writing down websites people were telling me about where to get cheap meat from, and art supplies, and Ricky's parents came to visit us. Going to the tax department, which is actually kind of interesting. Going to tax departments, you just have to sit there for an hour and just wait for your turn. This was the week we went to Berlin to visit my parents, writing down a little film idea of an underground train, talking about immigration and how people are dealing with that, and doing like a little cinematic abstract piece that of just an old elderly Turkish man yelling at people on the train and everyone trying to laugh it off and pretend it's not happening. Plan for the weekend: beer, dots, sleep, Halo, develop film. It just seems like quite a good weekend. Drawing ideas, little sketches every now and then. If I don't have my sketchbook with me, I'll draw in here. This is one I called Almost Home, which was a drawing of a dark figure collapsed on the stairs at my parents' veranda. Yeah, sort of talking about how my brother was so close to coming home before he died, and it was all very something frustrating. I don't know. And then this is the week of planning to get, well, the day of planning, so I could take a week off work to go away for the anniversary of my brother. So I planned to go to Fikyok, or Chikchok, I think someone called it as well. And I planned it the night before, freaked out. Planning food, map, compass, dried food, train tickets, first night accommodation. And that's pretty much all you need. Although I did take a lot of camera equipment and drawing equipment, which is always key. You don't want anyone else to carry it, because they'll just complain like, why do you have so many lenses, and why are you taking so much paper? Because paper may be heavy. It's very useful though. I spent 17 hours on the train from Stockholm to Murjek. It was the most amazing train ride I've had in many years. And then hanging out this week up in the Arctic Circle, September 20th being this day here, the day that my brother passed away, and the first year being without him. And then Ricky was away that weekend, which was a good thing. And then we start moving into figuring out what is going on with the rest of the year. And so we went to, the following weekend, Ricky and I flew back to Aarhus to go to a friend's wedding. I wrote on this next week. I was writing down ideas late at night of maybe I could go to Samsø and be the city architect, which is a very small island off the coast of Denmark, which is a beautiful place. And they were looking for a city architect, and for some reason I thought maybe that I could be the city architect. A young Kiwi guy, and actually it's got a bit of romance to it, but also thought I could transfer to Aarhus and maybe work there, or run a PhD on the Anthropocene's nature, about how nature and man are mixing. But that seems like the most vague topic right now that I think about it, which is probably not, you can't really fill that out to be a PhD unless you put a lot of work into it. Little spa that I saw in a magazine that I thought was quite interesting, the way that this hill, that the building was wrapped around a hill, and it had this hill in the middle, so that the views out from this big deep veranda and roof were just up towards sort of sloping landscape, and it had a bit of intimacy even though it was one large building. I guess this is pretty good. I went to ice hockey for the first time ever with the guy Sam, who I used to sit next to, who's turned out to be quite a good friend when I was in Stockholm. And then the following night we went out for quiz night, had an Irish bar, and that was a bit of fun. And then that weekend Grant came over to visit me in Stockholm, and that's probably when I realised that I needed to leave. And we had many good discussions about what I was meant to be doing, and he stayed with us for a couple of days. And then, look, I've got nothing planned. I guess it contributed to a lot. I felt like I was in a massive rut and routine and depression when I was in Stockholm. So nothing planned that week, which didn't really help. Nothing planned that week either, just some birthdays. An idea for, I called this the Chapel for the Tender Tears, or Tender Fears, which maybe title's not so good, but it was on the rocks between two islands that we've got up north in New Zealand, and you ascended some steps that were covered at high tide. You could float your boat in, and then upstairs it was this slatted room that let in the salt spray and the light in the evenings, and you sort of just looked up and stared at the stars at night time. And that's a view of, actually this is one of my only memories of working in Stockholm, was the fika table where we had afternoon tea every day, and these big long low lights they had over this table, and people just hanging out around this big kitchen table drinking coffee and eating hard crackers and cheese. And then I guess it progresses very quickly, because this is selling things. This is what I can take back to New Zealand. My ski bag, my chairs, my lamp, my winter clothes, my books, my computer, my toolbox, my brewing gear, my camera gear, my clothes, my beer crate, my camping gear, my beer mug. And then I think I had to sell everything else. Ricky's little sister came and stayed with us, which was interesting, because I think she knew everything that was going on, but we didn't really talk about it. I'm not really sure if I had such a strong relationship with Ricky's sisters in the end. Bit of a shame, because they were really nice people. Yeah, selling things, bikes, cameras, screens and desks and things. I think I sold about none of that. I sold the bikes. I saw one of the cameras, but it was a pain in the ass, and I was very stressed out about it all. And I thought I could fit in brewing beer because I think I gave myself like 6 weeks to get out of Sweden, so I thought I could brew beer in that meantime and then make like a big farewell beer to give to people and say sorry for leaving on such short notice. Nothing happened that week. I'm packing that weekend. Jeez. And designing I'm seriously thinking about how to build this cabin so that it doesn't touch the ground very firmly. This was an idea for a foundation that rests on the ground. So it was a 600 by 600 square, 21mm plywood plinth platform thing, and then a concrete block filled with concrete with a steel bracket, one of those Bomac brackets, coming out of it with the bearers on top of it. So the whole thing just dispersed the weight of the building, and you could just make a whole load of these and then put them down where you needed them. You didn't have to dig any holes. Because digging in sand's not much fun. This is a weekend I was playing this game Broforce with some friends, and they were always a bit of fun. Could get out of the house and go somewhere else. Trying to write a meal plan. That was one of the discussions we had a lot in the apartment, was what was I cooking for that week. I guess I tried to get on it that week, but I'd already made the decision to leave, so maybe a little bit too little too late. I'm still trying to sell things. 47 kilograms for Emirates I've written here, because that was how much I was allowed to take, because I had a special allowance. And I think I ended up taking about 54 kilograms back, but I was very, very lucky because I had my ski bag, and that was considered special luggage or something, and so they didn't weigh it, and so I had 47 kilograms of check luggage plus the ski bag. I'd already planned on what I was going to leave at the airport, and then I had this great idea that they should have second-hand markets at the airport, so that if people have got too much luggage they don't want to take with them, they could set up this little market and sell things. But I don't really know who would buy anything second-hand at the airport. It would just be like old clothes and shoes and things. But that could be a bit of fun. That's our Christmas party at work, and I remember late at night thinking up of this other little cabin over like a chopped pyramid with a big skylight with a wraparound bed in the roof. Could be a bit of fun to build someday. And then here we go. This is the last week in Sweden. Packing, leaving on Friday. I made sure that I left on Friday so that Ricky would have the whole weekend to herself before she went back to work. Which I hope it worked out for her, because I felt, I don't know. There's this moment where we'd been saying goodbye for a long time, and we'd been drifting apart for about a year, and then it came down to this one day where we actually had to say goodbye, and we hadn't really said goodbye before that. We hadn't really talked about it much, and it all came to a head, and then you sort of realise, like, what am I doing? Why don't I just stay here? And it's very hard to tear yourself away. And I remember putting the bags in the taxi, and she was inside and looking up, and we were on the ground floor apartment, and looking up, and she was behind the window, and it was just this heart-wrenchingly, terrifyingly sad moment of the last time that I'll ever see this girl that I've spent many years with. And I've written, anxiety and excitement are the same emotions, manifestations of each other, directed towards different views. And I think that's quite true still. That excitement it can be manifested positively or negatively, and that you can be negatively excited about something and feel terrible, like leaving. But at the same time, I was excited about going back to New Zealand, and I just wasn't sure what was going to hold true. It was all that unknown and trying to figure out if I was doing the right thing. I don't think you even know if you've done the right thing until you've done it. And I've also got this philosophy that maybe everything you do is the right thing because you've done it, so you've just got to own it and just move on. And then first week back in New Zealand, trying to distract myself from everything, ordering materials, figuring out prices for macrocarpa, Matai, getting reclaimed building parts from around the city, dinner with friends, mums, Christmas carols, 70th birthday. A friend of mine was singing in a mini golf thing. haircuts, going away for the weekends, calling people, emailing people, selling things, buying things. It was all this go. I mean, it's December as well. It's leading up to Christmas now, so everything's getting pretty hectic. Sailing. Went on a date night with my best friend's girlfriend, which was fun. I think it was like a surrogate boyfriend for a couple of weeks, which was kind of nice. Printing things, getting ready for Christmas, making my next year's sketchbook, which is always important to do before it's January 1st, which I sometimes manage to do. Writing down book ideas. I have a friend whose dad has this book of quotes that he's collected over the years. I thought it'd be really cool to graphicize it and turn it into something interesting. Another book memory I thought, or maybe even a video series would be, what was your first memory? And that's just asking people what they can first remember about their lives, because I can't really remember much about my life, and just see what other people think about that. And then we're into Christmas, Boxing Day at my grandma's place. They go to Waiheke on the 27th. What's that about? Oh, no, I didn't. No, I was meant to go to Waiheke on the 27th, but I didn't. A friend from Waiheke came over and saw me in Auckland, and they went to Coromandel for New Year's. And it was just kind of this all swept up in this excitingness of the end of the year. And I don't know, how long did that take? It's just goes, just like that. This whole year of, I started the year in Denmark studying for my thesis, and then March of that year I finished my thesis. I flew back to New Zealand for 3 months, travelled around, came back to Denmark, and then packed up my life, moved to Sweden, and then realised that was a bad idea, and then moved back to New Zealand to be with my family, or whatever was remained of it. And then the year's over, and then it's another year.